I'm excited to be able to bring this to you today. So today we're going to talk about a little bit about Age Well and the group at the state that helps regulate our supplemental insurance. We're going to talk about Medicare and we're going to do a review because I know a lot of the folks looking at supplemental insurance today might be coming over from an Advantage plan. So I want to review how Medicare works and why supplemental insurance is an important feature of Medicare. We're going to talk about the costs of coverage and what are your rights and a little bit of resources coming up. So as you know, most of you know Age Well. Their mission is to help you age confidently as you go forward with whatever issue that you may have, whether it be insurance or support of a family member. And you can call their 800 number and ask any question. They support folks who are 60 and older or folks younger than that who are on Medicare. So SHIP stands for the State Health Insurance Assistance Program. And basically what we do is it's free and confidential counseling for people on Medicare or Medicare family members. We can bridge. The one thing that we can do that other agencies can't do is we understand the state and we understand the federal government, and then we can bridge how your benefits would work specifically for you. And that's really an important feature of Age Well SHIP program. And then we have classes available throughout the year to help you navigate your needs when it comes to Medicare. The 1-800 number you can call and you can ask whatever questions you need. And if you need to talk to the SHIP program, you just ask for SHIP directly. So in Montpelier, there's a Vermont Department of Financial Regulations. This is the group at the state level that actually regulates the Medicare supplement insurance. They approve the rate hikes or anything going on with it. They have information about Medicare supplement insurance when you're looking for a plan, and there's contact information there. That's a direct link. They also supply rates, and the rates that I think Sam sent out to you attached to your email would be the rates I think from August of this year. Okay. So we're going to take a minute to look at Medicare, so how Medicare works. And this is original Medicare, which is federal Medicare. You have hospital Part A and medical Part B. That's what Social Security starts. Most people get Part A premium free because of their work history. And for Part B, most people pay a premium. And if you make a lot more money, you might have a little bit of, it's called IRMA, an extra cost on top of it based on your income. Then from there, you can join a drug plan offered by, I think there's like 11 different companies that offer drug plans. And then from there, you also have an option to join supplemental coverage, and that's also called Medigap. And that's what we're going to be here today to talk about, is all the different parts of Medicare and why supplemental coverage is an important option for you. So if I go too fast, please write in the chat, slow her down. Okay. So Medicare Part A is hospital. It's for this year. It's usually premium free if you've worked 10 years or more. There's a deductible of over $1,600, and that's per benefit period. And what that means is if you went in the hospital in January and then you came out and you went back in June, if it's outside that 60 days in a row, you'd get another deductible. So that's an expensive deductible that you want to consider. Instead of coming out of your pocket, maybe a supplemental plan could cover. And then once your deductible is met, Medicare pays 80% of what they cover, and then you're responsible for 20%. And this is where we're setting up the importance of supplemental coverage. Hospital, I always think of it as your room and board. It pays for your hospital stay. It pays for hospice and skilled nursing and home health care, but there's some prerequisites for all of those things. So if you went in the hospital, that deductible would cover the first 60 days. But after that, if you were in there for longer, your portion of that would be $419 a day, $838 a day in those if you stayed longer. In a skilled nursing facility, you have to have a pre-qualifying stay of 3 overnights in the hospital, and then Medicare will pay your first 20 days. After that, you're going to pay $209 and change each additional day. Those are the kinds of things that a supplement could cover. So instead of coming out of your pocket, the supplemental plan would cover. And then home health care and hospice, they have certain prerequisites. And again, the 20% would be coming out of your pocket if you qualified. So Medicare Part B, which is the medical portion of Medicare, it's currently premium is $185, and that either comes out of your Social Security check or you pay quarterly. And that can be adjusted if you make a lot more money. It can cost you a little bit more with IRMA. The deductible is $257, and that's a yearly deductible. So once it's met in the calendar year, you've satisfied it through the end of December, whenever it is met. And then after that, if it's a Medicare covered expense, again, you meet your deductible, Medicare will pay 80% afterwards, and then you pay 20%. So the kinds of things that Medicare Part B covers it's a lot. It's doctors and outpatient. If you went in and had a surgery for one day and came out, that's Part B. Labs and tests. So if you had a CAT scan or an MRI or any of those kinds of tests, ambulance, and durable medical equipment. Durable medical equipment is usually provided by a individual supplier, and it can be anything from diabetic supplies to compression to CPAP stuff. Those are all durable medical, okay? And those are the things that are covered by Part B as in boy. And then Medicare also covers other services, some preventative, and if you need details on that, you can get it either on the website or in the handbook. But they have an annual wellness, screenings. One of the things to know about Medicare is that when you go to, let's say, a doctor and you're going to have your annual wellness, so it's a very limited description of what they're gonna cover. If you add topics or have additional concerns, which you very may well have, they code based on whatever your visit, whatever they're addressing in your visit, and you're gonna pay based on the codes. So some people, when you go into your annual wellness, you need to be aware if you're going to talk about other things that may result in a cost for you. But in general, it's annual wellness. It's very well described what they'll talk about. It's general topics. So unlike Medicare Advantage, Medicare traditional or original doesn't cover certain things. And the things like eyeglasses, hearing, or dental. So if you have those now and you want to get those next year, you may have to look at individual policies. I would recommend talking with your provider first to see what policies would help cover those services. But it doesn't cover healthcare outside the US. It doesn't cover drugs unless you have a drug plan specifically. So we're all here to talk about Medicare Supplement insurance, or Medigap. They can be interchanged, and it's really designed to cover the portions of hospital and medical Medicare that would have come out of your pocket. And there's many different plans. They're federally standardized, and what that means is if a company is selling Plan G, whoever sells Plan G, the benefits are all the same, but the prices can vary pretty much. They can be, it can go, let's say Plan G can go from $200 to $300 based on the company. So the cost can vary. You want to select a plan that is the coverage that you would prefer or that you would like. And then from there, you want to look at the cost and what companies are selling it. In Vermont, our supplement plans are community rated. And what that means is everybody gets the same price. The only delineation is if you're under 65 or over 65, there's a different price. Other than that, in some other states, they might look at other criteria for pricing, but not in Vermont. Once you join a supplement, as long as you continue to pay your premium, it's going to automatically renew. And when you're new to Medicare, you have this 6 months, or when your Part B starts, you have the 6 months guaranteed issue rights that you can join a Medicare supplement plan. And that's important because then they have to let you in. They can't say no and they can't underwrite you. But right now, anyone losing the Blue Cross or the United Healthcare Advantage plans are also offered a guaranteed issue right of 63 days once their Advantage plan leaves Vermont. So what does that mean for you? You could join a supplement now and start it in January, or you could join a supplement within the first 63 days of the new year and start it as well. Are we having any questions yet?
Not yet, Patricia.
Okay, cool.
Oh, there's a question.
So,
Actually, this is a good one. Just for clarity's sake, that just popped in. What does
good.
underwriting mean?
Underwriting means if you had a lot of health issues going on, so a lot when you apply or contact a company, you're going to have to answer a questionnaire, and it's not usually too involved. But if you have a lot of health issues going on, they can actually turn you down, or underwriting means they can charge you more. Okay. So how Medigap works, again, you have to have Part A and B for original Medicare, and it helps cover the portions that you would have paid out of pocket for your hospital and medical services. It's a second payer after Medicare. And what that means is if I went and had, let's say, cosmetic surgery that Medicare did not pay for, a supplement's not going to pay either. So it only pays Medicare covered expenses, okay? Um, again, Medigap doesn't cover some of the things that you might have had with your Advantage plan if that's what you're used to. And you still pay for your Medicare Part B premium, that $185 is you still pay that base level. And then your supplement comes, I think there's like, I have it in one of the screens coming up. There's quite a few companies that sell it. So it can be United Healthcare or USAA or Humana. There's many different companies, Blue Cross, that sell um, your supplemental coverage. One thing that I've heard this season is a lot of people going, I thought Blue Cross was leaving. Their Advantage plans are leaving. Blue Cross still has drug plans and Blue Cross still has supplemental plans. But underneath here, it shows you once you pay a deductible, that's your responsibility. Medicare pays 80%, then you pay 20%. Those deductible and the 20% are the things that you could potentially get an insurance company to cover for you if you pay a premium for a plan. Okay, and that's the trade-off. And then we're going to get into what some of the plans are as well. So you may not need a Medigap if you have Medicaid or you're eligible for Medicaid or Medicaid problems like Quimby. You don't need a Medigap if you have a retiree plan or if you have veterans benefits that helps pay for things. You don't need a Medigap if you're a federal employee and you have Federal Blue Cross. And you also don't need a Medigap if you're in an Advantage plan, which unfortunately doesn't qualify for anyone in our area next year. Okay. So here's where there's 14 different companies selling supplement plans in Vermont. And some you go directly to the plan, some you go to the sales agent, some you can apply online. It all depends. The companies may not offer every plan. So if you talk to an agent, they may sell a couple of the plans, But if you go to the information that we'll provide or the Department of Financial Regulation provides, they're going to show you all the plans available, all the pricing. So it's a full picture of what's available for you. Again, the plans are standardized, so you can pay different prices depending on whatever company. Unfortunately, there's no rating system, so there's no place you can see if there's any complaints or somebody's better than the other. In the years that I was working with SHIP regularly, I really didn't have issues with supplemental companies. The only issue would be if somebody thought they were covered and they weren't covered. They didn't pay their premium or something like that. But if you paid your premium, they followed through. You just need to let your um, provider know that you have a supplemental policy and they pay as they should. And then you can enroll through an agent or companies, and there's going to be some level of application process. And those are just some questions, about your health care. So when you're in a guaranteed enrollment, it's really important if you can take advantage of it, especially if you have health concerns. So we get this every year, and especially during open enrollment, people want to change their Medigap plans. Can I change it? It's going up or whatever the issue is. You can change a supplement any time of the year. The caveat is they don't have to sell it to you. Okay, so if the company will sell you a policy or you want to change your policy, you can do it. Okay, but your guaranteed rights aren't there, so it may not work out for you. So in general, if you're healthy, they'll probably let you switch or sell you a policy. But if you're in the middle of, a health crisis, it's not a good idea because somebody can deny you based on what you're going through. I never dealt with anybody who really got underwritten, but I dealt with people who got denied. And that really happens, but your application process will determine an outcome. And so as we go on, we'll talk about the plans and then what kind of strategy makes sense for you going forward. Again, this is not tied to open enrollment in general, but for those people losing an Advantage plan, you're going to want to consider that 63-day guaranteed issue right. So the one thing that I just want to clarify is Medigap are plans and Medicare are parts. And that's really confusing. So somebody will say, I have Part A or Part B or that kind of thing. But your plans are, they can be G and F and N and all of that. So you want to make sure which you're talking about, you identify it correctly. They're identified by letters again, and they're like A through N, and we'll talk about some of those plans. It it seems very overwhelming, but we're going to try and boil it down a little bit for you. Again, it's offered by private companies, they're standardized, and for more information to support this class, you can go to Department of DFR, and they have a document called Shopping for Medicare Supplement Insurance as well. Any questions before we hit this one?
No, there was a lot of questions about when, but I think you just answered that. So no.
Okay. Okay, great. So I'm just going to reiterate, you can join a supplement now if you have, let's say, and I'm going to just say one of the Advantage plans and say it needs to start in January, or you can join it in January to start the next month. So you're not in a pinch to get anything, to get the supplement piece by the end of open enrollment. Only your drug coverage needs to be done by then. Okay. So here's a grid of all the options available, with the caveat, the C, D, F are only available for people who are on, really C and F are available for people who were on Medicare before 2020. So those are no longer available. But we're going to talk about how to read this grid and what makes sense, and then we're going to zoom in on a couple of the options that are available to you now. So we talked about Medicare, remember the deductible and then the 20%. all the plans across the top cover the Medicare, the hospital 20%. And then a lot of the plans cover the Part B 20% coinsurance after medical. With the caveat is N, L, and K, they do it a little differently. N has a little bit of a copay, okay, instead of covering 100%. The 3 pints of blood and hospice, that's just a part of your basic benefits. The skilled nursing facility, that's an expensive one if you are admitted into a skilled nursing under the rules with Medicare. So that's a good one to get covered. So Plan G, Plan M, and N cover that. That's the days if you were there for more than 21 days. You know, that's not a hard thing to do if you had some kind of surgery or some kind of um, a hip replacement or a knee replacement and then go into some kind of a rehab type of skilled facility for getting back on your feet. And then Medicare Part A has a deductible of over $1,600 that can happen more than once a year. The plans that have the check cover that deductible no matter how many times it happens. And then currently no plans cover the Medicare Part B deductible, which is that quantifiable $257 once a year. Okay. The next benefit is called a Medicare Part B excess charges. That's illegal in the state of Vermont. But if you were to get, let's say, healthcare in another state that allowed excess charges, let's say the facility or the provider charged, $500 and Medicare was only going to pay some portion of that, but less. The excess amount could get charged to you. That doesn't happen if you get all your health care in Vermont. But if you got your health care outside of Vermont, it may be a consideration. And then the foreign travel emergency care is a very small benefit, but it's something. So if you were in a foreign country and you had a crisis, there's a limit amount of coverage that the supplemental plan will cover. Sam, we have a question, I see.
So all questions, please go in the chat. That's the only place where we're answering questions. So if you
Okay.
could just go ahead and put that in the chat, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. The thing I'm going to point out is so if you're new to Medicare, there's a couple of plans that seem to be the most popular, and we're going to talk about those. Those are G high deductible, and N. We're going to look a little closer at those. If you are if you started Medicare before 2020 and you're eligible for C or F, you can look at those. Those are complete coverage. It covers all your deductibles, all your 20%. Basically, if you went into the hospital and you had everything Medicare covered expenses, you would not get a bill. Okay. But you're paying a high premium for that. And that's where you're going to start to look at what makes sense for you. So we're going to zone in on 3 of the plans that are probably some of the more popular plans now. Plan G is one of the fullest coverage plans you can get. So and I'm just going to make this up, if I had a lot of health issues, I was in the throes of, God forbid, cancer, and, I knew I had a surgery coming up, whatever, I would look at Plan G, and then I know my out-of-pocket would be the Medicare deductible at $257, then theoretically everything else, as long as it's a Medicare expense, would be covered for me. But I'm paying a premium to a company every month, okay? So sometimes we have folks who are like, well, I'm comfortable with a copay, or I'm comfortable paying something. Plan N is a nice fit because you would pay a $20 copay for some of your medical office visits and a $50 when you go to an emergency room. And you'd also pay that Medicare Part B deductible. But sometimes when you co-pay or have a co-insurance that you have to pay in, your premium might be a little bit less. So folks who are, who don't mind having a little cost sharing, that might be a good plan for them. And then, I've had a lot of people say to me, I'm really healthy. I don't need a supplement, or I haven't needed one. I would I would have them at least explore Plan G high deductible, because what Plan G high deductible is, it will pay after, and I think it was 27, I'm going to go back one screen. High deductible, after it's 28.70, after you meet that amount of money out of pocket, the plan covers 100%. Okay. And that's important because with original Medicare, if you don't have a supplement, there's no safety net. Okay. So with Advantage plans, it might have been an out-of-pocket maximum of, $8,000 or something like that. This one is just under $3,000, but you might pay, and I'm making these numbers up, you might pay $60 a month for the plan, but it gives you a safety net should you need a CAT scan or an MRI and, surgery or whatever, because sometimes things change, our health can change. So it's nice to have a safety net. So that's also an option to consider. And you're welcome to talk to companies or agents. And just, it's really important that you understand and you select for yourself. There's no one plan that fits everybody. It's really based on your health. It's based on your finances, and it's really based on kind of, I say, personality. Some people want very predictable coverage, and some people are a little bit more willing to handle a little risk. Okay. So there's also strategies I'm going to mention when you join these, because people will be like, well, if I join high deductible, can I move to something else? Theoretically, you can, but it's not guaranteed. Maybe a thought process is getting with a company that has both or all three of these plans, and maybe it's easier to move amongst them, but there's no guarantee that you can change, but you can look at strategies. The one thing we'll say is you don't want to get the fullest coverage or the most expensive plan right now and then not be able to afford it in 10 years when you might need it more. So you want to look at all that, what the cost is, because as we all know, the costs are going to increase. Okay. So again, I mentioned that they're community rated, so everybody pays the same price. So for whatever plan, the one thing that's different with these is Blue Cross offers a different price during a guaranteed issue that you would not get outside that issue. So for instance, and I don't have the prices in front of me, let's say Plan G is $235 in a guaranteed issue, it might be $260 outside that guaranteed issue. So you want to be aware of that. Everybody else just really has one cost. But there's different plans for those who are 65 and older versus the people who are under 65. And the prices vary from one insurance company to another. I know that's mind-boggling, but it does. And the rates always change. So you want to be cognizant of, you don't want to buy something you can barely afford now because it'll be rougher for you to afford in a few years. And then individual policies. So if I'm married, I can have a different policy from my spouse based on my health care. And your guaranteed renewal as long as you continue to pay your premium. Okay. And the nice thing about the supplements is wherever you go in the US, so you're visiting a grandchild or somewhere in another state, something happens, you go to a medical facility or a hospital, they take Medicare, the supplement will follow. So there's nothing like in and out of network. It's just Medicare, the supplement will follow. Okay. So there are some rights and issues, and pretty much the important part is for here is you have the guaranteed right to go ahead and enter or purchase a policy. I mean, that's the most important thing for the folks coming off the Advantage plans now, or if you're interested in a supplement, is to get into it, and there's some privacy protection. Companies can't increase your premiums individually. It's all based on, they go through the Department of Financial Regulations, and then everybody's price increases on that plan for that company. Okay. You have to have Part A and B to get a supplemental policy, and you can appeal a decision for supplemental policies. I've not ever been involved in anything for appealing a decision for a supplement, never had the need to. And you can suspend it if you're going into Medicaid. You can put it kind of on hold, and if you're new to Medicaid. And insurers can't ask, personal genetic information or that. Just protect and don't give them the information that's not necessary. And for people who are on supplemental policies, they're more expensive when you're on it through disability, which is somebody under 65. So it's really important to know, if I was on a policy at 55, when I become 65, I have a new guaranteed issue. So I could actually join a different policy or join a policy and get a cheaper price. I could just call the company. So that's a really important point for folks who are on disability paying for a supplement. Okay. So when you're considering buying a supplement, which I think is a really great way to go, you want to pick a plan. This is the coverage that I'd like. Then look at the companies and the prices. Be careful about canceling an old policy if you're starting a new one. You can make a change, but you want to make sure you have that policy, the new policy in hand, or so to speak, before canceling a policy. And if you switch, you do have like a 30-day free look period, and you can talk to the company about what that is or what your rights are at that time. But think about the premium that you can afford. And in this day and age, that's not necessarily an easy, but if you could do at least a G high deductible and pay $60 a month and cover yourself with a safety net of less than $3,000 a year, that is certainly something to consider, if not, fuller coverage. And then you just want to be careful or smart about when you're switching policies or companies. But a supplemental coverage is good coverage, and it's important. The cost of medical care now is crazy. Um, and the other thing that's nice about supplements is if you wanted a second opinion, or you wanted to go to Boston, or you wanted to go to New York, or you wanted to go to Dartmouth, not a problem. You can do that with Medicare and a supplement coverage. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, just remember, this time of year and all times of year, you want to protect your personal information, and Medicare's not going to call you. You want to be smart about who you're talking to and what you share, and that Medicare.gov is a great resource for going and asking questions. Keep records with who you spoke with. So if we ever had to go back and verify something. And if you have any suspicious activity, please report it to AgeWell, report it to Medicare. But screen your information, because right now a lot of people are getting, you see all the ads on TV, and you see, you call one of those ads, you're opening yourself up to saying, I'm receiving calls from reps and agents. So you want to be aware of that. There's a lot of good agents in the state of Vermont. So just know your information and be willing to talk to someone. And don't feel like you have to sign or buy it that instant. Take your time, sleep on it, and then if it's what you want to do, go forward with it. Any questions in the chat? I know it's a lot of information.
Question on that actually. So, is there an advantage to signing up directly with a company or with a broker or vice versa?
I don't think there is an I mean, it might be nice for you to sign up with an agent, because maybe it'll make it easier for you than to just do it online if you had questions. But I don't know that there's any hard benefits to do one versus the other. If you know I want this policy, just go straight to the company, or this is the company I would like. The one thing to know about agents, though, say you go see an agent and they may only be selling 3 out of the, companies for Plan N, and you really wanted a different company because it was cheaper. So that's the thing to consider with agents, is they'll be having a subset of what's available a lot of times. Or they might only sell for a couple of companies, or they might only represent one company, and they may not be able to show you everything that's available to you.
And if you are interested in finding an agent, Patricia, how would you find an agent?
Well, Sam put out some information about folks, some phone numbers to call and contact different companies. And that should have been attached to your email that went out along with the rates. Correct, Sam?
Correct. Yep.
Thank you. Anything else?
So there was several questions about this, and you did address it. But so again, can you help me understand what I am paying for if Cigna is charging $225, let's say, and State Farm is charging $190? What am I paying for if the plan is standardized?
I can't give you a hard fact, to be honest with you. But some people will, let's say, some people have an affiliation or have had good experiences with a company. That's where the tough piece is, because there's no rating, like this company's better than that company for, service or those kinds of things. But it's the soft benefits that we can't quantify for you. Some people will be like, I feel like I know this, or my family's been with USAA forever, and that's what we want to go with. A lot of people will choose a brand. It's just like there's many cars that you get you from point A to point B, but why do you buy, a Honda versus something else, a Toyota or an American, whatever the car is. It's all of those things. But you're right, it's the same benefits, and I think that's a really important point. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing. It is sort of a strange thing.
Right.
There's a specific question, but I think others might have a similar question. Is the G plan deductible like a usual deductible, i.e., you meet the deductible before any costs are covered? Or will original Medicare Part B pay the benefit and the unpaid amount contribute to the deductible?
So what happens is you're going to get Medicare coverage, but you're going to pay the first, it's 2870. So that's going to be your deductible and your 20%. And when you hit that 2870, then you're 100% covered. Okay. So you're going to pay the portions that Medicare won't pay until you hit that deductible. And once you hit that deductible, then you're 100% covered. Medicare will cover the first part, the supplement will cover the rest. I hope that answered it.
Clarifying question here, I think, is a good one. That can I buy a plan that covers both me and my spouse?
You can, but you're going to buy them individually.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, so you can buy the same plan for you and your spouse, but they're going to do 2 application processes and 2 premiums. And, you know, I don't think I'm divulging. I'm on Medicare. I have a plan. My husband has a plan. They don't necessarily have to be the same, or they can be the same to make your life a little easier. It's however you want to do it. I have a good friend who very healthy, is on plan N. A spouse needs more care. They might be on a plan G, that kind of thing. So it all depends how you want to figure that out. Any other questions? I think the critical thing for me is You know, if you've had a few years of Medicare Advantage, which a lot of you folks have, you know, and it worked out for you, that was a great opportunity, but you have an awesome opportunity of a guaranteed right to get into a supplement now. And that's really kind of a gift after you've you know, passed up your guaranteed right when you turn 65. So that's a really nice opportunity I'd like to see as many people take advantage of as possible. Any other questions?
I think that's, oh, yeah, just some clarifying questions. There are no M policies offered in Vermont when I looked online. The question about what's the difference between G and F high deductible, you can look at the chart.
So yeah, you can look at the chart, and F high deductibles only if you're before 20, any F plans are before 2020, you had to start Medicare. And the thing I'm just going to caution folks about, and I'm not talking about the high deductible necessarily because I'm not looking at the plans now, so I don't know what the numbers are. But let's just say G versus F or G versus C. The folks who are in C and F, and this is just an observation, are an older pool of folks. They're all folks who started Medicare before 2020. So let's say you're paying $300 for something, complete coverage. But for a plan G, you might be able to spend, you know, $180 a month. And the only difference in those plans is a $257 deductible. And you'll be with a pool of people who are just joining Medicare now. So those are some considerations. Do you want to pay that extra premium to cover $257? And the $300 plan is going to go up and up and up, just as well as the $180 plan. So those are the kinds of things to think about. Okay. Anything else? You know,
Um,
and talk to the insurance company. You know, you don't have to call them just to sign up. Call them to pick their brain and see how they talk with you or treat you or what the service is, that kind of thing. And you know, some of the companies find out where they're located, you know, or how long have they been doing business in Vermont? I mean, I think we have a couple folks that are somewhat new, the Afflecks and the Monitors and those guys. And those may not be household, you know, well, Affleck's around, but you, they may not, they may be somewhat new to supplement. That doesn't matter, that they will cover it. So, um, versus the tried and traditional United Healthcares and Humanas and Blue Crosses and all of those. Okay.
another clarifying question, Patricia, I think is a good one, just in terms of people understanding costs. So, do you pay both the copay and co-insurance until you meet the plan deductible? After which you don't pay anymore, the plan pays the rest of the year?
You're paying you're paying all the costs that you're supposed to pay till you hit that deductible, and then 100%. Then the company will pay the 100% after that. So it's not going to delineate you pay, well, you'll pay the deductible and the 20% till you reach that level, that 2870. And then after that, should you have more care, then the costs will be paid by the insurance company. And that's each year. Okay.
So yeah, per year. There was a follow-up
Per
question
year.
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. But it's a great safety net, and I think everyone should try and at least have a safety net. Okay. Anything else?
All right.
S-
Well, thank you all for attending.
Yeah, and if you have questions, you can call AgeWell. Sorry about that, Sam and
No,
Caitlin. You can call AgeWell, and it doesn't have to be done by the 12th or by 12/7. you have time after that. So don't be afraid to say I'm calling about supplemental, and then someone will get back to you after open enrollment's over.
And if for some reason you didn't get the attachments I sent, please just let me know, and I'm happy to send, whatever you need back out. Well, thank you for Patricia. This was great. Caitlin, thanks for your help in the chat. As I mentioned, this will be posted on our website and our YouTube channel, so you can, if you need to rewatch, please feel free. Again, thank you all for attending, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.